Berenson has been on the show before. He's a former New York Times reporter, now a best-selling suspense novelist, and he's done some really amazing work on the COVID-19 panic. And he's been one of the real skeptics, and he's done a lot of groundbreaking work, and he's paid a price. I think the New York Times is not reviewing his books anymore, and I think he's had some problems with Amazon, but he's still trying to get the word out. And he's had an amazing story that he put out on Twitter that he was informed by a whistleblower at the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, that air traffic controllers, since Biden became president, have been ordered to wear masks while they're communicating with the pilots of planes. What could possibly go wrong, right? Not being understood. You can't understand with the waiter reading you the specials. You can't. The college coaches, if you watch basketball games, pull down the mask to talk to their players. You can see it tonight on ESPN. So those are minor irritants, but pilots not being able to communicate with the air traffic towers. Alex Berenson, thanks for being with us here on the Howie Carr Show.
Howie, thanks for having me.
So you just got this out of the blue from someone who's affected by this, correct?
That's right. So how this works is I think there's a few people out there who know they know who I am, and they know that I'm interested in information about COVID that the media has not reported. Whether it's about masks or whether it's about maybe vaccine side effects, whatever is out there that you might have seen that you're not seeing reported. And I have a Gmail account, although I'm moving more and more of my stuff to Proton, which is a more secure account, and it's at Alex Berenson, author at protonmail.com. So things just come in, and this guy emailed me, and it was sort of a long note saying just what you said. He said, I'm an air traffic controller, and last year we had to wear the mask sometimes, but basically we could take them off when we were talking to people. And now they've tightened up the rules a lot. And by the way, he did not say, look, there was almost a crash last week, or I think this is going to be deadly tomorrow. He said, this is a risk, and it's a risk we shouldn't have to take. And at times when, it's very time sensitive, I might have multiple, planes that I'm routing. This can be difficult. So this felt very real to me, but I don't print stuff like this without confirming that the person is who he or she says. So I said to him, what I say, what's my standard thing to say in these emails is, can you send me an ID? And usually, to my surprise, people are actually quite willing to send, a driver's license or a work ID. And so he did. He sent me an ID that proved that he worked for the FAA, and I asked him a couple more questions, and then I ran it. And since then, I think it was Monday that ran. I've gotten several more emails from both pilots and controllers saying, this is a problem, and we are concerned about it, and we don't know what to do about it.
And has any member of Congress picked up on this, or any administrator at the FAA? Have any reporters confronted the FAA about this?
If they have, they haven't told me. A couple of Congress, men who follow me, have, or at least one, I think, retweeted this. I did talk about it on Tucker Carlson. So, I'd like to think that people are paying at least a little attention to it, but no one from Congress has contacted me about it. I wouldn't necessarily think that they would. In a few days, what I'll probably do is go back to my source and say, and to the other people who've emailed and say, has anything changed? Whether or not anything will change, I don't know. But it's striking to me. A few weeks ago, I got an email from a doctor, from a physician at an academic medical center in the Midwest, and he had taken it upon himself to run a screen to see how many visits there were to the emergency room for people before and after they were vaccinated. So he looked at a group of people who'd been vaccinated at his academic medical center, and he and he looked 28 days in the past and 28 days post-vaccination. And he found that there were a lot more emergency department visits post-vaccination, which it makes sense on some level. People are going to have allergic reactions to this. But he said to me, I don't know where else to send this. I don't think a journal is going to run this. Mm-hmm. And so I'm giving it to you. And I ran it, and, other people talked about it. This is a real problem in journalism and in our country right now, that, an ex-New York Times reporter with 225,000 followers is kind of one of the main sources of information about COVID that the rest of the media won't disseminate. It shouldn't be that way. You should be getting a fuller picture of the pros and cons of everything we've done, whether it's lockdowns or school closures or, the risks of the vaccines, which, by the way, I don't say the vaccines don't work. We know the vaccines have some efficacy. What I say is, based on the side effect data, there's a lot of people who are suffering, pretty serious side effects, some short term, some longer term, as a result. And we need to talk about that and be honest about it. Honesty just seems to have disappeared from the conversation about COVID entirely.
Well, I read somewhere, I just want you to confirm it, that since you got involved in this as being the lead skeptic in the press, for lack of a better term, the New York Times has not reviewed your latest book when they used to review your book. I mean, it was you've written best-selling, really top-notch suspense books, and plus they've also been very good sellers. I don't know if they've been bestsellers, but now suddenly you're on the blacklist. You're canceled.
So I wrote 12 John Wells novels, starting in 2006. The first one was called The Faithful Spy. They were all bestsellers, all 12 of them. The last one came out in 2018. It was called The Deceivers. And so before COVID, I wrote a book called The Power Couple, a novel. And again, these are all fiction. They have nothing to do with my journalism career. And Simon & Schuster published The Power Couple last month. And although the Times and the Washington Post and other places had all reviewed some of the Wells novels, and I actually wrote book reviews for the Times repeatedly, they did not review The Power Couple. CNN and MSNBC, which had me on to talk about the Wells novels at various times, did not have me on to talk about The Power Couple. And The Power Couple, I'm sort of sad to tell you, is the only novel of mine that did not make the New York Times bestseller list, although it made the Publishers Weekly bestsellers list. So, they don't want to give me publicity. That's fine. You know what? I can't do anything about it. They don't like me. They don't want to review my books. The Power Couple sort of suffered for it. Back in the day, when they did this in Hollywood, when they said people were communists and they weren't allowed to make movies because of their political views, we called it blacklisting. And
right.
People have decided that's a bad thing. But when it comes to the modern media, if you're saying things that the left doesn't like, whether or not they're political, you can get in trouble and you can get blacklisted.
Well, I think the difference, too, is that in Hollywood, the blacklist, all you had to do was change your name, basically, and they'd still buy your screenplays. I think in your case, if you changed your name to Baron Alexson, they'd hunt you down like a dog. And they're more into it than the people in Hollywood were, aren't they?
Well, I'd say something else. It's shocking to me that this is coming out of a lot of journalists. Okay. What happened in the 50s in Hollywood was, there were some powerful people in Washington who didn't, who wanted to punish these communists, right? And they kind of did it in secret. What's happening now with cancel culture is the opposite. It's coming from the bottom up. It's coming from people in journalism who should know the value of the First Amendment, who should know the value of having 100 different voices out there, voices you like and voices you don't. And it's very public. And I mean, people say horrible things about and to me constantly on Twitter. And I just view that as part of the, that's part of the price you pay these days if you're giving views or giving facts that the mainstream media does not like. But to punish my book, I thought was it was just not necessary.
Well, it's Simon & Schuster. That's the same publishing house that canceled Senator Josh Hawley's book, right?
Yes, it is. No, I can't complain about Simon & Schuster and the Power Couple. They supported the book. They tried to get me publicity. They published a lot of advanced copies, but they couldn't twist the arm of the New York Times book review desk and get them to review the Power Couple. That's not within their power. So, to me, this is not really about SNS at all. It's about, again, the Times and the Washington Post and all these other places. But I think, Harry, I think we're at a dangerous moment. Journalists, people who call themselves journalists, who work for the New York Times and other places, are no joke trying to infiltrate other people's, private or semi-public conversations and catch them, saying things that they consider wrong and publicize those things and, destroy their careers. I mean, that is happening. I don't understand how that's considered journalism, but somehow it is.
This is a really big story. I would think that your fellow journalists, I include myself as one, I'm impressed that you got this story. This is a big story to me. And we heard I mentioned this.
FAA?
Yeah, I mentioned this out of the box on the show, and somebody who's a federal contractor called me up and he said, "Yeah, this is the way it's been since January 20th." And when he's in a room by himself doing work for the government, they tell him he has to have a mask on when he's in a room by himself. And he says it's hellish to have to wear a mask for 8 hours. I can only imagine.
It's all for show. It's all theater. I mean, one of the things that, I actually got another email from somebody, a defense lawyer in Arizona a couple weeks ago. And he said, God help you if you get arrested for something these days, because you don't have a right to a speedy trial right now. I mean, even though that's constitutionally guaranteed, COVID has screwed up the workings of the government in so many ways that people only know if they're on the inside, right? And the thing about the government is it's taxpayer funded, and right now it's Federal Reserve funded. So they can do whatever they want, and there's no price to them for not having trials, or,
right,
for enforcing these ridiculous mask mandates. We're in a bad place right now, and because Biden is president, the media, which asked and reasonably so, asked hard questions of Donald Trump, asked no questions of this guy, or almost no questions.
And they keep saying we're all in this together. They don't say it as much now, but they've said it, and it's so glaringly clear that we're not all in this together. Some people are reveling in this, and other people are being punished.
Yes, and the guy who has been nominated to be the Surgeon General, his name is Vivek Murthy, I should say. Vivek Murthy, I should say. I'm sorry about that. He received more than $2 million last year for coronavirus consulting from companies like Netflix and Airbnb. Now, that should be disqualifying for a Surgeon General, or somebody who wants to be the Surgeon General. You should not be taking millions of dollars from companies in the middle of a public health epidemic. But, again, because this guy is a Bidenite, all the people who'd be screaming about corruption if Trump were president aren't saying very much about it at all.
Well, Alex Berenson, you're doing a great job, and the title of your novel, if people want to support him, it's called The Power Couple. Maybe we could still get it on the bestseller list.
Get it on Amazon.
You can't get it.
Let's hope so. Fingers crossed. But the funny thing is, like, I hate to sound like I want people to buy the book because I've been, because of this cancel stuff. It's a pretty good book, Howie, and I hope people buy it for that reason.
I know, Alex. I know. I write different kinds of books, but I never got reviewed by the New York Times either. But then I never worked for the New York Times. That's the difference,
There you go.
All right.
I think they would like to forget that moment, that 10-year moment.
Okay, Alex Berenson, thanks for being with us. We'll have you on again when you get your next scoop. And this is a scoop, I think. 844-500-4242. It used to be people took care of each other in the book reviewing business. It was called log rolling in our time in Spy magazine back in the day. There's no more log rolling in your time if you deviate from the orthodoxy, though, now. I've been on Balance 7 for 3 weeks now, and I cannot believe my energy. I've been feeling so good that some weekend days I go for 3 bike rides. Now, you may ask, what is Balance 7? Balance 7 is a clear mineral liquid you take 3 times a day to break down the acid in your body. You feel just better. That's the only way I can describe it. I personally sleep better. It also reduces acid reflux and heartburn. Often I'm asked to try products, and I could be very skeptical of the claims. But with Balance 7, it was all 100% true. With Balance 7, I don't feel my energy starting to flag as the day wears on. By allowing me to sleep better at night, I have more mental clarity during the day. Balance 7 is a highly alkalizing concentrate. That means it reduces the acids that have built up in your body over time. All you do is drink a small shot of the liquid 3 times a day, and you will feel the difference. Balance 7 is made of safe, all-natural ingredients. If you suffer from heartburn, acid reflux, or sleep issues, give Balance 7 a try. You'll be favorably impressed. Balance 7 is made in America and has sold more than 6 million units worldwide. Order any of the 1-month supply and put in code word Howie. You'll save $10 and you'll get free shipping. That's Balance 7, the number 7, balance7.com, code word Howie. I'm Howie Carr.
Want more Howie? Click the Howie Cam on HowieCarrshow.com.